So 4 steps for navigating in a world of change. Step 1, determine a clear direction. So have a bit longer term perspective in mind where we want to go. Second, grasp the current condition around us. So not rely on assumptions, opinion of others, or like correlation we see. I think that's especially important in the time of social media right now. Step 3, establish a short-term next target condition, and we'll talk about why a week is good here. And then conduct experiments. Go step by step and find out what we need to do to get closer to our target condition. Those of you that are familiar with Toyota Kata might have realized that these 4 steps is what we call the improvement kata that Mike Rother developed and published in his book, The Toyota Kata Practice Guide. What's a kata? Well, a kata is a Japanese term, and it basically is a practice routine to learn something new until this behavior pattern becomes a habit. By the way, this is not only in Japanese concept. We know this approach for practicing and learning something new from many different areas. For example, from sports. If we learn something new, we break it down into separate steps and practice it step by step. Or you might know it from dancing, where we practice certain orders of steps. These are all kind of practice routines or kata. Now the question is, so why do we need a kata for navigating and being successful in unpredictable conditions and mastering the challenges of the 21st century? Well, this has to do with how our brain deals when we're confronted with unknown and something new. So whenever we face something new, of course, we have to make a decision how to react. Unfortunately, we can not predict the future. And also, we might face a situation which we haven't experienced yet. So we kind of hit a threshold of knowledge. This, of course, creates a dilemma because our brain kind of wants to know and understand what to do next, which also creates some feeling of safety for us. And so this is kind of a dilemma that even can be frightening. How do we solve that? Well, we solve that by what I call the window of experience. So actually our brain, when we're confronted with something new, looks on it through our past experiences. So kind of draws back on what we've learned and done in the past, and then makes a prediction what we should do now and in the future. Although that is a very good approach for everyday situations, like, for example, driving a car, where if you see something happen, like the car to the right putting in the indicator and you expect it to move the lane, so you react accordingly based on your past experience. And depending on in which country you live, you either kind of slow down a bit and let the other person move in, or you step on the gas, honk your horn, and just pull it through. So this kind of drawing back on past experiences is very good for everyday situations. However, there are some major drawbacks when we are navigating in unknown and changing conditions. And this was actually described by a Nobel Prize winner, Daniel Kahneman, in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, which I really recommend to read if you're interested in this kind of topic. And he found several biases our brain kind of builds on, which are fast, but might lead to misaction in changing conditions. And here's a bit how it works. So number one bias we have is what we call the confirmation bias. So not only do we look on something new through the window of experience, but we also try to align it with our values, beliefs, and the experiences we have had in the past. So whenever we face something new, we go back to what we've seen and come up with the solution that worked for us last time. So if you're ready, I would like to do a little experiment with you here online today, just to try out how this confirmation bias works. Have a look at this 4 words here. I'm pretty sure, although half of this short sentence is missing, you're able to read it. What do you think? So let's kind of reveal it. And yes, here it is. So what do you think? So going back, we'll still see it, right? What do you think? So this is pretty amazing. Even though our brain just has like 50% of the information, we can still come up with a valid solution based on our past experience. So if you can do that, let's take it a little further. Have a look at this sentence. And again, although now even 60% of the information are disguised, I'm pretty sure that you can read this. And you probably can see here, are you sure you can read this? That's pretty amazing, isn't it? So drawing back on experience, we come up with a reaction, a solution. Unfortunately, in this case, we're totally wrong. So even now, you see the sentence, when I go back, our brain, interestingly, still creates the solution, are you sure you can read this? Although we know it's not the solution. Here's the second experiment I would like to do. And again, it shows how our confirmation bias sees everything we meet in the light of our past experiences. If you look on that row here of numbers, what's the next number? I'm pretty sure most of you come up with the answer, it's 16. And then if I ask, so what's the rule for this row? Probably most of you will say, multiply the existing number with 2 and you get the next one. Unfortunately, I have to say, that's not the rule. Although 16 is the correct answer, the rule is not multiply with 2 to get to the next number. To make it even more obscure, I can tell you that 11 is a valid answer. I won't tell you what the rule is. If you're interested in it, send me an email and give me some suggestions what you think. So again, our brain kind of predicts the future based on past experience. Or in other words, we first of all try to apply the solutions that have worked so far. Unfortunately, this is kind of based on a precondition, which means that the solutions that were developed in the past only work for the present and the future if conditions don't change. So in a changing world, this can be a very dangerous concept. And what we probably realize right now is that when we try our past solutions, they often don't work. So this goes kind of a couple times forth and back until we realize we don't know. And then a second bias comes into play, and Daniel Kahneman describes this as the action bias. And that's a very interesting tendency, which means that if we don't know what to do, we rather just do anything than do nothing. This might look quite like a stupid concept. However, in our past, like running away might have been a good solution. Unfortunately, in today's world, this kind of often leads to it doesn't work. And again, if that kind of goes forth and back a couple of times, we probably, or quite a few people, end up rather panicking. To summarize this here, we are brained and trained that whenever we meet something new, to first try old solutions. If they don't work, we try arbitrary action. If that doesn't work, we usually panic. So how can we get out of this? Well, coming back to Mike Rother's book, Kata, he mentions a very interesting statement there. And he says, scientific thinking may be the best approach we have for navigating unknown territory. That might sound a bit highly sophisticated. However, scientific thinking at its core is going step by experiment and comparing what you think will happen with what is actually happening and then adapting accordingly. So here are 4 steps, a 4-step model for everybody to practice scientific thinking and acting on an everyday basis. Step 1, have a clear direction. Step 2, truly grasp the current condition. Don't rely on past information assumptions. Get the facts firsthand. Then slice down the challenge you have, the longer term direction, into a smaller bit. We call it the next target condition. And then go forward by conducting experiments. And we know there will be more target conditions beyond, but let's focus on the next target condition and then go by experiment.